My first trip to Italy, I was 11 years old. And that was the first time that I met my family, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, all of them. I remember going there and feeling like I had come alive. It's like I started to see myself. When the time came that I had to come home, I was devastated. I did not want to leave. I remember sitting in my grandmother's home on the bed and I was in tears. And I was saying to my mother, why do we have to go back? There is nothing there. So that was the first time I noticed that life was hard here. My parents, my brothers, and my sister, one of my sisters, migrated from Italy back in the early 70s, and I was born here. So being first generation Australian, it felt very complex to be in the world. I was actually in two worlds often. At home, they'd call me la cangura, that means the kangaroo. And outside of the home, I was ethnic. My mother was the peacemaker and she was that safe place. And my father was the authoritarian figure. I look back at photos of when I was my very early years and I see my father engaging with me from this really affectionate place, and it's not one that I'm familiar with. You know, things changed. Once I began to understand, I remember him distancing himself because the authoritarian figure had to be his position. So, but you know, when I look back, it looks different. My father ran a very strict regime around certain things, and one of those things was the fact that no English was allowed to be spoken in the home. I was always very on alert around my father and my voice. Cosa detto, Anna? My sister visited from Italy for the first time. This connection was born. It was through her visit that I started to connect more to my feminine. When she left, I fell into a deep depression. So I felt as though I didn't know how to be that without someone showing me how to be that. This particular morning, I ran into my friend Caroline, who was a dear friend of mine. And this was the morning where she said, why don't you go and see this woman? Her name's Penelope Starr. She really works with people's body symptoms and supports, you to understand the emotions behind the symptoms. I was open to everything at that stage. I'd already opened. When I sat down and within the first session, she looked at me and said, do you realise that you're disconnected? And she told me about how I was living through my mother's disconnectivity because of the trauma that she experienced through the migration. She was split and her heart was still in Italy. I could only connect as deeply as my mother was connected, and she wasn't connected. I was experiencing myself from this other place. I was learning so much. Penny introduced me to circle work, the practice of sitting in circle with women. It's called secret women's business because there are no words to actually describe. That by far has been the most profound healing process of my life. I knew that that circle was there. I knew that that community of women loved me deeply. I noticed that people started to talk to me more about their problems. One of my friends came to visit me and she was in distress. She was currently experiencing a difficult time. I simply shared with her some of the tools that I had learned through being in the therapy chair. And we had, over a cup of coffee, we spoke, two friends sitting together and sharing storytelling. She went home and that was it. That evening she called me and she said, I have to tell you something, Julie. When I went home, that was the first time I had ever experienced a sense of peace. Thank you. I said, oh, that's what I have to do. I have to help people. I can't even describe it actually. There aren't any words to describe the moment when you realize why you exist. My childhood and my experience of living from a place of disconnection and being split, really, was the thing that has brought me to this moment now. So I have met my younger self a few times. The core thing that I would say to her would be that I loved her. I would tell her that she mattered. And I would tell her to never compromise her heart. Every time she felt the loneliness and a feeling of helplessness, I would tell her to walk outside. I would tell her that she was okay, that she existed as she was without the need of anybody else.